Vice President J.D. Vance recently issued a blunt warning to Israel, he thought he held all the cards. Defending Washington's diplomatic maneuvers over regional peace talks with Iran, Vance openly scolded the Israeli cabinet, warning them against publicly attacking Washington's policies. He added a sharp reminder: if I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. It was a classic display of American superpower arrogance. We supply your defense architecture, so you follow our rules. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did not blink. Instead, he fired back on global television with a layer of deep, biting sarcasm that stunned America and Americans. Speaking on Fox News, Netanyahu shrugged and said, "We have some other friends, like a small country called India. You know, it has 1.4 billion people, and boy, do we have tremendous support there. A small country with 1.4 billion people." With that single phrase, Netanyahu did not just answer J.D. Vance. His remark reflected a broader revolution in Israel's strategic thinking, one that places increasing emphasis on diversified partnerships rather than dependence on a single patron. It also offered a glimpse into a world moving toward a more multipolar order where influence is increasingly shared rather than monopolized. To understand why Netanyahu invoked India, you have to look closely at the underlying tension. Vance's warning carried an implicit message: Israel's security ultimately depends on American goodwill. For decades, many observers viewed Israel as a state whose strategic room for maneuver was inseparable from Washington's backing. But Israeli nationhood was forged under conditions of extraordinary vulnerability. Back in 1948, Israel's first Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion, formulated the periphery doctrine. Recognizing that great power alignments are never permanent, he quietly built strategic partnerships with non-Arab powers on the region's periphery, including Imperial Iran under the Shah and Turkey. The lesson was simple: alliances matter, but over-dependence on any single partner can become a strategic liability. Now, this historical instinct helps explain why Vance's warning drew such a pointed response. Netanyahu's worldview was shaped by his father, historian Benjamin Netanyahu, who believed Jewish history repeatedly demonstrated the dangers of relying exclusively on external guarantees. When the Obama administration negotiated the Iran nuclear deal in 2015, despite Israeli objections, and when Washington has since pursued diplomatic engagement with Tehran, the perception of complete US-Israel strategic alignment began to fray. Over decades, Israel evolved into a hyper-militarized, technologically dominant state that some analysts describe as a modern-day super Sparta. Now, this concept, inspired by Netanyahu's own speeches, describes a nation that stops worrying about global approval and deliberately transforms itself into a high-tech fortress built to survive completely on its own. When the long-running shadow conflict with Iran escalated into direct confrontation, Israel demonstrated its willingness to undertake high-risk military operations even when Washington expressed reservations. Now, over decades, Israel has become a global powerhouse in defense, cybersecurity, and frontier technologies, giving it strategic leverage that extends far beyond military aid. Now, that brings us to the significance of Netanyahu's reference to India. By invoking New Delhi, Netanyahu highlighted a changing reality in international politics. Countries today increasingly cultivate multiple strategic partnerships rather than relying exclusively on a single great power. India illustrates this evolution particularly well. Under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, New Delhi has successfully hyphenated its relationships with Israel and Palestine, engaging each on its own strategic merits. Today, India is not merely one of Israel's closest diplomatic partners. It has long been among the largest buyers of Israeli defense equipment and is a key stakeholder in ambitious connectivity projects linking India, the Middle East, and Europe. Perhaps even more telling is India's simultaneous engagement with Iran. Even as Israel values India as a strategic partner, Tehran also continues to cultivate ties with New Delhi. India recently sent a high-level delegation to Iran despite broader Western tensions. In an increasingly fragmented international system, India has emerged as one of the world's most consequential balancing powers, maintaining productive relations with countries that often stand on opposing sides of geopolitical fault lines. Netanyahu's small country remark was about much more than India. It reflected the changing nature of leverage in international relations. The era in which major allies automatically aligned with a single superpower is giving way to a more complex landscape of overlapping partnerships and strategic autonomy. America remains the world's preeminent military and technological power, but it is no longer the only center of influence shaping the choices of its partners. Israel's growing confidence, India's rise as a balancing power, and the broader diffusion of global influence all point toward the same conclusion: that in an increasingly multipolar world, power is no longer measured simply by military strength. Increasingly, it is measured by the number of meaningful choices a nation possesses. So, was Netanyahu simply delivering a witty retort, or was he acknowledging a deeper geopolitical transformation?